Hey, I'm Steven from Rugged Routes, and I just want to share with you guys what I've got in focus as far as new maps go for 2022. If you guys aren't familiar, I do satellite overlays and detailed off-road maps for Lowrance GPS units. So on the screen right above me right now is just what you would normally see, let's say like an HDS7 right out of the box. And then I'll show you real quick, just for those of you that are not familiar with what I do. And pop in one of my map cards, and then it pops up, starts giving you trails and points of interest, but also gives you satellite imagery of this area. So this is actually the Ocotillo Wells map right now, and yeah, so it just gives you a sample. For more maps and other things that I've got going on with Lowrance, be sure to check out the website at ruggedroutes.com. Now, for new maps coming up later this year, hopefully I'll get through the list because I've got a lot on my plate, but this is what I want to do. So I'll flip over to Google Earth real quick. Basically, Barstow, Stoddard Wells, that is one that I should have done a really long time ago. I've started on it. Just got to run up there and collect a few more points and trace a couple four-wheel drive trails that are out kind of near the /X area. So I'll do that before too long. Next is Cal City. This is a big one that people have been asking for a long time that has had some complications just because it's not just Cal City that people are actually after. Cal City is technically down here in this area, but up here is really where a lot of people ride, and then across the highway is another area called Spangler Hills, and then of course off to the west we have Jawbone, Dove Springs, Red Rock Canyon State Park. So there's a lot of different areas that are managed by different government entities that make this area pretty complicated, but I'm actually pretty excited about getting back out there and getting this one done this year. Also on my list is Sand Hollow. This is a pretty fun one. Not just Sand Hollow itself. Yeah, we're going to jump way over here to Utah. Not just Sand Hollow itself, but I want to cover some area outside of Sand Hollow OHV area, as well as the Coral Pink Sand Dunes. So this map, I'm going to open it up a bit more. I need to get a little more familiar with it up there in Utah. You know, I know that's going to be a fun one, but also a lot of homework and a lot of time on the trail is going to go into making this complete and useful for you guys as well. A really cool one just south of there is going to be what the BLM calls the Arizona Strip, which is actually just in this shape. Actually is a little bit shifted because this file came from another program. But Arizona Strip is basically the north end of the Grand Canyon. So a lot of cool stuff up there. A cool ranch called Bar 10 is up there, a place to stay, and they have fuel and food and all that kind of stuff, and then you can ride into all sorts of different lookouts. So I've spent a little bit of time up there, but definitely need to get back up there to get more familiar and make this map as complete as possible. So that's definitely on the list. A lot of people are riding out in Arizona. I'm very aware of that. So Havasu has been a big one for a long time. So I'm probably going to be figuring out some sort of logical boundary that will go along the river that will include Parker. So those of you guys that are racing down in Parker will have that as well. We'll have Lake Havasu and probably stretch all the way up to Bullhead. Also intersecting this area is the Arizona Peace Trail, which covers it's like a 750 or 800 mile loop, something like that. Depends on if you're counting the offshoots. But I definitely want to include the Arizona Peace Trail and then open up satellite coverage and points of interest and that sort of thing for those of you that are out playing in the desert, specifically outside of Havasu. So it's going to be kind of like a 2-for-1. That's what I have in mind there. Again, the boundaries for this map are going to be a little complex because I don't want to just go drawing random lines on a map to make this happen. I like to keep things organized as basically like the BLM, they have their boundaries, Forestry Service, they have their boundaries. So I like to stick to some sort of existing boundary rather than drawing my own project boundary. So I definitely will be figuring that out. Moving down the list is the Mojave Preserve. This is one, this is also shifted, this file came from another program. But the Mojave Preserve, this is home of the Mojave Road, a really popular trail for people to go through the preserve, and there's all sorts of really weird and cool stuff out there. I personally am not very familiar with this area, but it's not too far from home, and it is on my priority list for 2022 as well. Moving outside of the West Coast, I've got Hatfield Mccoy. So those of you that are out near West Virginia, we'll scoot way over out. Where is it? Here we are. The Hatfield Mccoy Trail System. This is one that I've worked on and off, but is presented a lot of complications because the trail system cuts through a lot of private property, and the weather can wash out trails very easily out there. There's a lot of reasons why trails in this area get rerouted. So from a management perspective, it's actually a bit of a nightmare, but I'm hoping to provide something that will be as accurate as possible when I get started. This is going to be one of those ones where I'll be relying on a lot of government and private trail data to put together. I won't be able to head out there myself, but using up-to-date high-resolution satellite imagery, which is now at half a meter per pixel, so essentially 4 times more resolution as when I started making maps a handful of years ago. So between high-resolution imagery and a lot of data that I'm going to be sourcing from multiple sources, I'm hoping to make this as complete as possible, but know that signs on the ground and common sense are going to be key for this one. But there's so many people out there writing in this area that I want to do something. So skipping back over into California, that pretty much wraps up my high priority list that I'm looking at for going into this year. 2 more areas that I would really like to do before too much longer is going to be the Sierra National Forest. So up near like Mammoth area, there's a lot of off-roading up in Mammoth. A lot of people do that right before and right after winter, so fall and spring seems to be pretty popular up there. And then El Dorado National Forest. So the Jeep guys, they spend a lot of time up here because that is the home of the Rubicon Trail. So I hope I can make my way through a lot of this stuff this year. I know I've been a little slow on making maps as of late, at least public maps. I'm constantly making maps, a lot of custom stuff, some stuff for CAL FIRE and some other government entities that need stuff for dozers and tractors. So, and then also OHV stuff. Smaller projects are time consuming, so to offset that, I'm going to be increasing the minimum project size for doing custom maps. So I'm hoping that starts to free up some time there, and then I'm also in the process of, I just got to wire up a few more servers, and I'm going to have 4 more machines going online here soon to start making much quicker work of processing all this imagery. So got a lot of things in the works, went through a lot of changes over the last 2 years that was kind of dampening my productivity, but I'm feeling really good about where things are and where things are headed for 2022. So that's it for maps. I've got some other projects in the works as well that are more electronics and accessories related, so I'll do a separate video on that in just a minute, so be sure to check out that post as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.